I just think we all need to be nicer to each other because the way that we are going about how we treat other people is just kind of gross. Howdy guys, it's Shayla and welcome back to my channel where I scream into the void about topics that interest me. Happy 2024. It's already been a wild start to the year. So around October of last year, like a lot of people on TikTok, I was getting memes of Gypsy Rose Blanchard being released from prison at the end of December. And I knew about Gypsy Rose's case from watching The Act on Hulu back in 2019. And ever since I watched that, I've felt really bad for her because her situation was so severe and she was pushed to such a point where she felt the only way to get out of her situation was to orchestrate the murder of her mother. For those of you that don't know, just a brief synopsis, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a victim of Munchausen's by proxy, which is where a caretaker or a loved one, in this case a parent, will project illnesses onto their child that they don't actually have. It's a mental illness, and Gypsy's mom had it, and because she did things to her like put Oragel on her gums to make her drool, so then the doctors would remove her salivary glands so all of her teeth fell out. She had a feeding tube installed in her when she didn't need a feeding tube. She made her think she had leukemia, etc., etc., etc. So that is why Gypsy ended up murdering her mom, because she was treated this way for 23 years. Gypsy got out of jail, I think, December 28th. So it's been not even a month as I film this video, and people are already turning on this girl like she's the devil himself. I think most of the backlash started when the Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard documentary came out on Lifetime. It's 6 episodes. The first couple episodes cover the crime, and the last 2 episodes cover her relationships to the multiple fiancés she's had in prison. One was a man named Ken, and another is a man named Ryan Anderson, who she ultimately ends up marrying. People after watching this documentary felt like things were not going to go well for Gypsy once she got out of jail. People were skeptical if she learned anything. People were skeptical of how much therapy she actually got in prison. People were skeptical of her changing stories because new information was released in this documentary. After reading a lot about trauma and how these kinds of abuse cases can impact the brain, I don't think it's fair to go after Gypsy and claim that she's this manipulative mastermind and a liar because new information is coming out. When she was first convicted, she was probably really scared about going to jail. Because trauma is so complex in the brain, there are issues with memory loss, there's issues with false memories, there can be things that are buried deep that get uncovered over time, and there also just might have been stuff that Gypsy didn't feel comfortable sharing when she was first put in prison. I don't really think it's a fair assessment to say that she's lying just because new information is coming about as we learn more about her. People are also a little skeptical of her husband Ryan, who met Gypsy because his friend during 2020 wanted to message Tiger King, and he was like, listen, if you message Tiger King, I will message Gypsy Rose Blanchard because I think she's cute. Do I think it's weird that this man's first response after learning about Gypsy Rose Blanchard was that she's cute? Yeah, that's a little weird. I'm not going to defend this man and be like, oh, that's a perfectly normal thing to think after watching this horrific documentary about her story, but that's how he feels. And he does seemingly make Gypsy happy. Do I think maybe she should have waited to get married until she was out of prison? Yes, because the last 2 episodes of The Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard covers her contemplating whether or not she really wants to marry Ryan. Is she ready? Is she gonna be a good enough wife to him? Is she gonna want the freedom to date once she gets out of jail? All of these questions get brought up. She also still has feelings for her ex-fiance Ken, and she does express those to Ryan, who reasonably does get upset, although he does, raise his voice and yell at her, and those things can be a little concerning considering what she's been through. Even her family was also kind of saying, Gypsy, hey, please don't get married. right out of prison. We want you to have time to acclimate to everything. Maybe you'll want time to be like not a married woman. Maybe you guys will break up and you'll want to be single. At one point, they're having an argument, and her stepmom, Christy, is even like, maybe get an annulment. Gypsy also expresses that maybe she would wait if her dad, Rod, had expressed that, hey, maybe you should wait. But I think he's trying to overcompensate for not being as present in Gypsy's life and not being able to stop all the abuse that Dee Dee did. So he essentially just encourages her to do what makes her happy, and what would make her happy is getting married. Now, there's kind of two camps online. The first camp is people that are, yes, girl bossifying Gypsy Rose Blanchard, which I do think is wrong. Gypsy has even said in her interview with The View that what she did was wrong, and the women on The View are kind of just like, no, like, don't say that.
My words, that you are not alone in this, you know, situation. There are other ways out. I did it the wrong way.
No.
You know.
Don't say that.
I did. I did something wrong, and I paid my dues for it.
Oh, you mean that part?
Yes, the part of it,
yeah.
You know, that part of it.
And Gypsy's like, no, yeah, I actually did do something wrong. And there's a lot of girls online that are like, yes, queen, like, do what you had to do. And like all these fan edits of her.
Who planned this murder?
I did.
I was in a 2-on-2 on the uptown. What's up, or don't you?
Are a little unnerving because what she did should not be glorified. I think what she did is understandable, which is why I think a lot of people wanted her to be released from prison, is because your own mom, like, that was her baby. And the fact that she was able to hurt her child in that way is unreal. So I get why she ended up thinking that the only way out was murder. However, we should not be condoning that behavior and encouraging her acting like what she did was such a slay when it wasn't a slay. I think in this like first camp of people, there's also that crossover with people infantilizing Gypsy, saying that she doesn't know what she's doing, she shouldn't marry Ryan, she's mentally a child, which is a lie. Like, that's one of the lies that Gypsy's mom was orchestrating to everyone, was that, oh, like, my daughter's mentally handicapped, she doesn't know what she's saying, which is part of why she couldn't run away. Gypsy is old enough to make her own decisions. She's 32 years old. If she wants to get married right out of jail, that's fine. If she wants to be an influencer of some sort, that's also fine. Because then we get into this bigger sphere of people now that have completely flipped on Gypsy because she's not the perfect victim. People are now on this kind of tirade saying that Gypsy is this master manipulator, that Nick Godejohn is this innocent little baby because he has autism and, like, he couldn't, like, oh, of course he couldn't, like, not murder Gypsy's mom. Like, he was just easily manipulated, just like a little guy. Are you fucking insane? Nick Godejohn had a history of, like, violent and deviant sexual fantasies. Do I think he would have murdered anyone had he not met Gypsy? I don't know. Potentially he would have, potentially he wouldn't have. Do I think he would have eventually sexually assaulted someone? Maybe, because he literally said that he wanted to essay Dee Dee's corpse after he killed her. That's what he said he wanted to do. And then Gypsy, unfortunately, to get him to not do that, was like, if I let you do that to me, will you not do that to my mom's dead body? So I don't know where we're getting this idea that he is like a child and that he couldn't make his own decisions. Do I think Gypsy could be manipulative? Sure, because she had to learn how to be manipulative to survive dealing with her mom. But do I think that Nick is this harmless little man? No. He even confessed that he enjoyed killing her. So no, that's not someone that should be back out on the streets, unlike Gypsy, who does not express joy and happiness and elation at killing her own mom. Nick Godejohn does. And it's also disgusting, this little narrative of, oh, well, he was autistic, so he didn't know better. First off, autism is not another word for low IQ. Autistic people are very smart, and they're not prone to being violent monsters. Like, that's not a symptom of being autistic. It is so disgusting that people are throwing that onto the autistic community, being like, oh, well, you know, like, he's just autistic, as if this is a common occurrence for them. I think Nick should be able to tell his side of the story, but I don't think Nick is this small little baby that we're pretending that he suddenly is because we're upset that Gypsy's not the perfect victim. Like, her situation isn't black and white, and I think people are pissed about it. Also, it just feels gross because it feels like people are waiting for her to just slip up any moment so they can completely cancel her. I saw a TikTok where she's doing like an outfit of the day video, and her outfit is from Zara. And all the comments were like, oh my god, girl, did you not know that we're boycotting Zara? Do you think that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a master of knowledge of international affairs? Do you? Do you really think she knows about Israel and Palestine? Do you think she knows about all the companies that we're boycotting because of their support for Israel? Because I don't. I don't think she would know that. She didn't go to regular school. Her mom, I think, homeschooled her. She didn't go to college. And she's, I don't know, been in jail for the last 8.5 years. It is such shit to expect her to be on the same level of accountability as regular influencers who have not been spending their entire life being abused by their mom and didn't spend their time after that sitting behind bars. People were also upset with her because she was defending her husband Ryan on Instagram, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this little clip. It's her defending him, and she ends by saying the D is fire. And everyone is freaking out because she said that she's getting laid at night. She's been in jail for 8.5 years. What one of us wouldn't be going out to do that, or being with their husband to do that, or being with their significant other and going to Plowtown? That's normal for a 32-year-old to want to do. Half of you guys are horny on Maine all the time. All the time. You guys talk about Harry Styles hitting you with your car. You're talking about Jacob Elordi and how you want to climb him like a koala on a tree. And Gypsy can't say the D is fire. She's learning how to interact on social media. She's learning about internet culture. So I don't think we should be heavily judging her right now for saying the D is fire when some of you have said nasty and dirty shit on God's internet. And then we get to all of the comments on social media, particularly like forums about her and a subreddit about her, where people are like, she's a master manipulator, she's gonna kill again, she's gonna do this, she's gonna do that, and all the dumb questions like, well, I don't know, like, why didn't she just run away? I need you to rub your two brain cells together enough to start a fire to realize why she might not have been able to run away. Abuse victims are not thinking at the same logic as those of us that are not in abusive situations. Gypsy states that she tried to run away once, and then her mom came and got her and then chained her to a bed, and she was pissing herself for 2 weeks. If that had been me and I got chained to a bed after I tried to run away, I probably wouldn't do it again. As I mentioned earlier in this video, one of the lies that Gypsy's mom spun about her was that she was mentally disabled. Because of this, she had Gypsy sign her rights away. Remember, she was manipulating her own daughter. Because these papers were signed, had Gypsy run away, she would have just been brought back to her mom. Also, there are so many times where CPS and other protective services, things that are supposed to help children, don't do anything. Kids get given back to their abusive parents all the time. What makes you think that if Gypsy ran away, even if she hadn't like signed those papers, even if those papers weren't a thing, what makes you think that before she turned like 18, that she wouldn't have been given back to her mom? And even when she was 23, I don't think Dee Dee was saying she was 23 at the time. She was probably saying that she was still a minor. And people are also saying that Gypsy should just go away and wallow in the shadows. That's what everyone wants her to do. They want her to cower in a corner and stay out of the public eye. First off, what is she supposed to do for a job? Most felons have a really hard time getting hired. That's why the prison system is so corrupt, because people get out and then they can't find jobs because no one wants to hire them. Even for small things, no one wants to hire them. If someone doesn't want to hire you because you have any kind of criminal record, What makes you think anyone's gonna want to hire Gypsy Rose Blanchard when she was arrested for being an accessory to a murder of her own mom? And if people's answer to that would be, oh, well, Ryan can take care of her, cool, so now you want her to be codependent on her husband in a way she was codependent on her mom. The last thing Gypsy should be doing is being codependent on anyone to survive. She needs to be able to create her own income. What is a way to do that? Doing these documentaries, doing these interviews, going on TikTok, writing a book. That's why she's doing all of this, because she needs to make money somehow. And also because she wants to speak out about her story, and it's not our decision whether she speaks out on it or not. But I honestly don't see another path that she could take at this point because she doesn't have any marketable skills. She never went to college. She didn't go to a real high school. What is she supposed to do? I think we all need to have a lot more grace for Gypsy Rose Blanchard because she has gone through a life that most of us, 99% of us, will never even get close to experiencing that kind of abuse. And that's a good thing. No one should be abused by their own parent in the way that she was. And everyone is just expecting her to be normal, to be perfectly well adjusted, to be the perfect person, not slipping up, not doing anything wrong. And that's not realistic. She's not gonna be perfect. She's gonna slip up and she's gonna make mistakes. And I think it's sick and nasty that everyone is just salivating, waiting for her to fuck up so they can cancel her. Just because our lives and our mistakes aren't on blast or we're not going around telling everyone about everything doesn't mean that someone who is open about it should be shoved down and pushed away. It just feels like people are responding to the situation with like a bad faith. Like they're not giving Gypsy the benefit of the doubt that she can be rehabilitated into society and live a happy life. They're going off the thing of like, well, she's actually probably a shitbag, so I hope she goes back to jail. And I just think that that's gross. I think we need to be nicer. And if I were her and the internet was shitting on me for not knowing how to interact online, or wearing Zara, or having new things come out about my story, or just not being perfect, I would feel like garbage. And I think we need to think about what if we were in her shoes and how we would feel. I hope Gypsy does good things with her platform. I hope she becomes an advocate for children that have experienced abuse like she has, because I think that would be the best thing for her. And if her way of segueing into that is by using social media, using these documentaries, going on podcast and writing a book, then that's her choice. And we as the general public should be a little more understanding of her and her situation and her just trying to find her footing. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. The next video will be a continuation of the Sister Wives video I posted last year. I will be covering season 18 and how insane that was. So that will be coming in a couple weeks. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!